Question 2. Which organizational functions on your project are represented on the senior leadership team?
Leadership teams need to include those who will manage the change and those who will be subject to the change. This balance is important because some people within an organization are customers and others do the work that supplies that change. Great leadership teams contain both groups of stakeholders. Now, the projects we looked at were about regulatory change, with about 500 insurers working on this globally. So it provides a reasonable benchmark. We expected to see an accounting, actuarial and IT bias. We were surprised with the results, because suppliers to insurers had a greater awareness of who was involved at insurers than the employees of the insurers themselves. This tells us that internal governance and communication at insurers is suboptimal. Another thing that surprised us in the data, which isn't visible on the graph, is that participation of accountants and actuaries was not consistent. For example, particular insurers tended to be actuarial-led or accounting-led, not both. So, what we see is, one group of functional stakeholders dominates the project at an insurer to the detriment of other functions. The next group, senior IT managers, is small, compared to what we expected to see. These projects will include massive amounts of data management and processing. They involve new way of working, and will be highly automated. So, we do not understand why only about half of these projects contain senior IT managers. Now, when we look at what suppliers to insurers said about insurers, we see a different story. Suppliers are aware that insurers themselves have a wider amount of functional involvement. So, we asked ourselves, why the difference? And the only conclusion we have is that, actually, the internal governance and the internal communication on projects is not optimized. So outsiders have a better view into a business than within a business. Next, we look at the other important stakeholders, and what we find is frightening. These are massive projects, yet only half have professional change or project management experts in the leadership teams. This means, about half of projects are being undertaken by people who are inexperienced, who haven't got the battle scars, who don't know how to manage the change. And that means many projects going to run into trouble. Now, the type of project we looked at also involved many other things, where their people, process, systems, data, regulatory and product changes. These projects will fundamentally change how insurers sell to their customers, and how they will be able to repay their investors. We believe that of the total work of these projects, 5% will procurement, 10% will be investor relations, and 10% will be human resources management. Yet very few of these are represented on leadership teams. This means that big decisions going to be made without the best stakeholders involved. We strongly recommend all insurers engage in experts in delivering change when thinking about embarking on such endeavors.